Hello, I'm Troy Abels from Hanford, California, and you are listening to Gospel Tangents.
It's the best source for Mormon history, science, and theology. I'm Rick Bennett. Critics of Joseph Smith and the First Vision claim there are anachronisms in the First Vision account. I asked that question to Dr. John Pratt, and we'll see how he deals with anachronisms. Check out our conversation. Then of course the next question is, we kind of have a little dispute between Dan Vogel, who's not a believer, and then Stephen Harper, who is a believer, as to whether there was actually heavenly visitation. So Dan would say it was just more like a born-again experience. There was no real vision in 1820, whereas Harper would say, yes, there was. That's where
we
God
need to tell Dan that he can pray about this and get his own testimony.
Okay, well, I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, okay, then I can't help Dan. And what I've read from Steve Harper is he doesn't, if he has a date to propose, that'd be great. I've never heard him propose one. It's just a fuzzy. I'll tell you, frankly, I wasn't sure of the year until I learned all of this. A lot of people said, well, Joseph Smith, he kind of says different years. I wouldn't be upset if he had the year wrong. I mean, he's doing the best he's doing the best he can to remember. But he didn't have the year wrong. It was 1820 because all these calendars point to it. And it's what Joseph Smith said.
And so you think that two beings actually came?
Absolutely, of course.
Okay.
I mean, excuse me. Yes, I believe Joseph Smith is a prophet. He's one of the great prophets of all time. He's amazing. Look at what he did. I mean, I'm not an expert on Joseph Smith, but there's no doubt in my mind this man's a prophet, and he saw the two beings, and he's restored the church, and angels visited him. There's no way he could have produced the Book of Mormon by himself. It's a rehash of the Solomon Spaulding's manuscript. Yeah. No, no, it's not. Anyway, the Book of Mormon's amazing. Who really got me with the Book of Mormon, Hugh Nibley's book, Since Cumorah. I read that back about when it came out in 1960 or so. Okay. And he had, for those that want the scientific proof, he had all of these names in the Book of Mormon, and they matched names from ancient Egypt. And he had all kinds of things like that in there, where you say, okay, this 17-year-old kid is not going to just happen to get all of that right. And so...
Well, one other issue, and I know you're not a historian, you're a scientist, but I'm going to throw a historian question at you. In the 1838 account of the First Vision, Joseph said there was a lot of religious excitement. And there was a person by the name of Wesley Walters that went back and said, well, there weren't any
I know,
revivals in 1820.
I do this history.
In 1823 and 24 there were.
Right, I've read that.
And so Dan's like, if there was a vision, it would make more sense to be 1823-24. Harper disagrees
Let Dan
with that.
go with 1823-24. That's fine. Land, I think, is the name of the one that did go through in 1820. It was the Reverend who went through, and exactly, if Joseph Smith got something wrong, he's a 14-year-old kid. If I wouldn't be upset if he remembered something imperfectly. We know he had some different accounts. Right. And it wasn't always the same. But in the 1838 account, which was adopted, he really tried to go back and get it all right and not just, whip it off the top of his head to a newspaper reporter who was asking. And I'm saying he got it right. I'm not saying I trust the word of Joseph Smith. I'm saying if Joseph Smith had said it was 1823, I'd be saying, no, actually, it was 1820. And he got that wrong.
Well, the issue is because, from a historical point of view, from Dan Vogel's point of view, Joseph kind of embellished as he went along.
Let Dan believe what Dan wants to believe.
Okay.
Like you said, he doesn't even believe there was a first vision. Didn't you just say that a minute ago?
That it was more of a born-again experience. He thinks there was some sort of a spiritual experience. He does.
Well, good. That's very gracious of him to give Joseph Smith that much credence.
But the issue is, and this is where Dan and Steve would disagree. It appears that Lucy probably joined the Presbyterian Church, and then Joseph said, "I had a vision," and Presbyterianism is not true. But that wouldn't have happened until 1823 or 24.
Let's talk about history. See, now let's talk about science and religion, which is history is not as good as science, but it does its best. With records, for instance, weather records. Now we've got science and history combined with weather records, see? Okay. You're taking scientific methods, records on a day. You can combine astronomy with history and say there was an eclipse of the sun in ancient Assyria on such and such a day. We can go back and calculate that. Then you can compare that to the records, to the book of, anyway, to the Bible events. But historians, usually, that's lucky when they have science to work with. Usually all they have is records, of diaries and stuff, which is good. But there's something better. I'm so glad I don't have to depend on just so-and-so said this about that, and this guy was preaching, and it's probably this, and more likely. You read those papers carefully, and they're going to be filled with likelies and perhapses and ways where they say, well, I never said that was the date. I just said that evidence is leaning that direction. I'm saying the date of the first vision was Sunday, the 26th of March, 1820. And it's written in the stars, if you will. It's in the book of Enoch. Enoch gives a 10-week prophecy where he divides all of history into 10 periods, and it turns out those periods are each a double year. It's instead of 364 years, it's 728. 10 times 728 is 7,280. The whole life of from Adam to the end is about 7,200 years. It's 7,000 years plus a little season. The little seasons on all the sacred calendars, the little season's about 200 years. So Enoch, back in the day of Enoch, he gives a prophecy of what's going to happen. March 26th, Sunday, 1820, was the beginning of the 9th of his 10 periods. That day, so it's not just the beginning of 364 years, it's 7 or 8. And then he prophesies what will happen in those years. And he says, truth will be revealed. Now, it's in my articles. I can't quote the whole thing right off, but it's basically, truth will be revealed, and then the world will be judged. And truth was revealed right, like from the first day, and the judgment's coming up and the burning and all of that we have to look forward to still. I'm just saying this stuff is, we're not talking Lucy's diary about going, this has been planned from the foundation of the world. Joseph Smith is a key figure.
Okay. And so as far as the discrepancy, 1820, 1823, would you chalk that up to just a mistaken memory on Joseph's part then?
No, I think I don't know. I haven't studied it that much, but I believe there were several revivals that went through different places. And if one got missed, no, I think Joseph Smith is remembering that there was some kind of a revival and his mind was caught up with this and he goes to pray. That part of the story is, I think, locked in. He's not going to mix up on that. But as to which revival and the burned out period and all these different names they have for it, I guess I'm not as concerned about that. I believe he wrote his story down as best he could remember it. And I don't care if he got what different little parts wrong, and every time he remembered it, it was a little different. Sometimes you see it's a column, sometimes the leaves are burning, sometimes not even burning the branches. And, people tell a story a little differently each time. Mm-hmm. And
Well, I just wonder if he's conflating 1823 with 1820.
I can't respond to that. I'm just telling you the answer is 1820.
Okay. All right, well, that's good. Well, we've definitely hit that pretty hard. So I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Dr. John Pratt. In our next conversation, we're going to delve deeper into John's spiritual journey.
I was born LDS Church. I saw problems. I read Denver Snuffer. He explained a lot of stuff that no one had explained. And it was not that, oh, we had to believe his revelations. It was like right in the scriptures in front of us.
If you'd like to hear the entire interview uncut, please subscribe for just $5 a month at patreon.com/gospeltangents, and you can hear the entire interview before everybody else. If you'd like to watch the entire video for just $8 a month, you can either subscribe on YouTube, Patreon, or my website, gospeltangents.com. Just click the yellow subscribe button, and I'll add you to our Gospel Tangents Insiders group so that you can see entire videos. For those interested in a PDF transcript, you can subscribe at either Patreon or on my website. For just $10 a month, I'll send you a PDF as soon as it's complete. If you'd like a copy of the paperback as well as a PDF, just sign up for $20 a month at either Patreon or my website, gospeltangents.com. Of course, you can buy individual transcripts at Amazon.com and just do a search for Gospel Tangents interview, and you can see all the things that we have there. Don't forget to support Gospel Tangents with an awesome t-shirt like one of these. You can subscribe at Apple Podcasts at tinyurl.com/gospeltangents. Get our latest updates at facebook.com/gospeltangents. Also, you can get our Twitter updates at Gospel Tangents. Click here to subscribe, here for a transcript, and over here we've got more of our great videos. Thanks again.